Croeso nôl, welcome back to our afternoon session. If you're just joining us now, then please do watch the recording back of the inspirational morning session that we have had. We heard a range of talks on the themes of sustainability, climate change, and mental health. Now, this afternoon, we're going to be hearing from the Royal College of Psychiatrists, academics, young people and literature Wales. There's also going to be a special session that Dr. Kate Bailey will share this afternoon, where 3 speakers from the British Journal of Psychiatry will be presenting on these themes. Now, if you've just joined us now as well, then we are encouraging people to please use the chat function if you wanted to comment on anything that is being said, and if you've got specific questions or queries for all the speakers, then to please use the Q&A box. If there is not time to respond to all questions during the course of the afternoon, we will be ensuring that all of the questions are answered by the speakers in the conference information pack that you'll get as delegates after the event. And just to repeat again, you will be getting a recording of the entire session this morning and this afternoon. I'm going to hand over to Ollie John, who is the manager of the Royal College of Psychiatrists in Wales. He's going to be speaking about the college's commitments to sustainability and climate change, and to put into context this work in Wales as well. So I'll hand over to you, Ollie.
Thanks so much, Delith. I'm very, very quickly going to attempt to share my slides, so please bear with me 1 second. Great. So firstly, thank you for the opportunity for that introduction, Delith. And the purpose of this is just very briefly to take this opportunity at this important conference today to highlight some things which are really important to the college, which are very much in keeping with this agenda, and really kind of hopefully reinforce why we wanted to put this conference on today. And it's fantastic we've been able to partner with BJ Psych and have such a wide range of audience and interest in this presentation, or this series of presentations. So very simply, we've got 2 asks today, really, and we will be taking this forward with Welsh Government at any opportunity, both formally in writing from this event and in reporting as well on the event. And they're quite simple, and I think that's important that they're simple. So it's in the screen in front of you, really. We urgently need the government to prioritise the health and well-being of people on the planet by pursuing a well-being economy approach. Now, this can deliver a sustainable and equitable recovery. We should target social and environmental goals rather than fixating on short-term profit and growth. A narrow focus on GDP has led us to environmental, health and financial crises. You know, the UK is the 6th largest economy in the world, yet roughly 1/3 of our children live in poverty, more in Wales. So what can we do in Wales? Wales are already part of the Wellbeing Economy Government Alliance. This is a positive thing. You know, we should feel positive about that. We do have the Future Generations Act, but we can't be complacent. There is more we can do. And whilst traditional economic measures such as GDP remain important, we must broaden the range of measures, including a better accounting for natural and human capital. And that's really, really important. That particularly applies in a mental health setting. And I think even simpler still, any decision taken on climate change, energy and transport, it must consider and declare the positive and negative mental health implications. It seems so simple, but we know that mental health is usually, not often, but usually an afterthought. And so when we're hearing from presentations like this morning, like from Patrick, like from the range of speakers we've had about the impact about local community work, we need to thread that into decision-making and make sure people making these decisions give that consideration, that declaration more so, and are kind of held to account on that as well. And so that's something we're really passionate and strong on as a college in moving this agenda forward. So later on today, you'll hear from Adrian James, who has done so much work in president of the college around raising this as the highest profile within the college. And there's been a really good report around the college's position. There's a lot of recommendations which we absolutely endorse. But I think having these 2 central points for us in Wales are going to be things which we can really hold people to account on, and perhaps change the way of thinking. So we're determined and we're committed to working with other partners on this agenda. And that's right from our clinicians to young people, to politicians, anyone who'll work with us in promoting these messages and getting action from government on them. So I was going to be really short today, and that's actually it. But what my commitment is that we'll follow up as a college on these agenda items, pushing them forwards, and keep everyone who's contributed today by attending, by engaging with us, up to speed on what we're doing. And we'll be reaching out for you for that support as well, because it can't just be a couple of voices. And I think actually, you know, it's been really rewarding and refreshing to hear the passion behind this agenda. So thanks, Delith, and that was it, short and sweet.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Ollie. That was so important to be able to kind of focus our minds on what these outputs could be. I'm going to be saying this at the end of this afternoon session as well, but just a spoiler for you now, I'm really keen for a cross-party, for a group to be set up in the Senate, a cross-party group on climate and well-being. And I'll put my email address in the chat towards the end of this afternoon session. If anyone would like to be involved in this, it would be a cross-party effort, because I think that, you know, again, this theme of the collective, of unity, we have to work together in order to tackle these incredibly challenging but surmountable issues. So that's one of the ways in which, and I'm just thinking, Ollie, that, you know, that those two strands of well-being as a principal aim of budgets, and also decisions on climate change and energy and transport having to consider mental health implications, well, they could be founding principles of this cross-party group as well. So it would be great if anyone will send an email as well. It'll be part of the conference information pack, I hope, afterwards. If anyone would like to be part of that cross-party group, then please get in touch with us, because that, what politicians are doing has to be not just informed by expertise and by experts. We have to work collectively together on these issues. Can I just ask quickly, Ollie? I remember reading an article it wasn't an article, it was an opinion piece by Arundhati Roy in the Financial Times, really quite early on in 2020, in the first stage of the pandemic. And she had been talking about how it seemed like there was this window had opened to where we could see this glimpse of another possible world, where we could do things differently, where we could make some of these radical changes that seem to chime with what you've just been setting out. Do you think that that window is, you know, well, we have to make sure that window is still open, don't we? But what, from hearing what we've what the speakers have been saying today, and your general impressions, do you think that that window is still open? Do you think that we need to, how quickly do you think that we need to be fighting to make sure that these radical changes actually do either continue or do happen? Because there's so many competing forces where people want to go back to how things were before.
Yeah, no, I think I actually read the exact article you're referring to as well. There's something in there around, particularly at the start of the pandemic, how it put into the front of people's mind what it is they value. And I think for a lot of people who were perhaps new to this agenda, this was a kind of golden opportunity to just reconsider what's important. And so I think now, obviously, for a number of reasons, is how we need to act on it. But I do think we've got that lead in where actually there is this consensus of people now who do appreciate things in a different way. So I would hope, and I you know, this is why the urgency, obviously, for a number of reasons, but because of that window, now is the time to really push it through these ideas, and to also think about sustainability in that kind of broader context, its relationship to mental health, its relationship to how we deliver services, but also how we don't deliver services, you know, and what's available to us within the community as well. So I think, yes, absolutely. And I think the other challenge, it's always around decision makers and showing them the strength behind what a lot of people are trying to do. Because I think a lot of people are at this agenda, but it is about getting that collectivity around it as well. And avenues like a cross-party group, getting cross-party consensus on that's ideal. And I think bringing those different expertise to a forum like that is the right way to start, certainly.
Fantastic, yeah, and thank you so much, Ollie. And I think it was was it Catherine who'd said in the penultimate session of the afternoon that this is such a great start, and let's just, I think that there'll be so many people who are taking part today, who are asking questions, who are reflecting on what's going on, who want to come back at this afterwards as well, and just will want to be part of something collective. Yes, cross-party, but also just not just politically, but just cross-sector, so that we can actually come together. Diolch yn fawr iawn, Ollie. That will have helped us to focus a lot of our minds, and we'll be coming back to that later on in the afternoon. Now, we'll